So welcome everybody to how to develop stronger referral relationships faster. We're very excited to have you with us. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, a little bit about behavioral styles and how they impact and affect your relationships. And so this is going to be a jam-packed session. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff, some things that maybe you've never even done before on Zoom. And if you have, just pretend that you're like astonished, like, oh, that was so cool. Our goal is to have a lot of fun in this 30 minutes and work on how can we be more effective with the time that we're spending with our referral partners so we can develop better and stronger relationships, which leads to hopefully more referrals and more results for us. And so we're actually going to take a look at the 4 different behavioral styles. So you may be thinking, what is this go-getter, promoter, nurture, examiner? Oh my, that's okay. Jason and I are going to be your co-facilitators and cover that in today's session. One of the reasons we wanted to have this conversation, to do this little mini Roomful of Referrals program, because we're pulling content straight from the Roomful of Referrals, is, okay, I know in March of 2020, things changed. And whereas before we were doing a lot of face-to-face meetings, now we're living in a world of Zoom. And I understand that part of it is that, you know, we're back to in-person for some of us. We have different people from across the country and across the world, and the roles are different. And what I've noticed, I don't know about y'all, how many of you are doing more business with people outside of your area? So, you know, all right. Yeah. So like, as much as I would love to get together in person, Agneta, with you, I think, you know, the fact that you're in Europe and here I am in the United States might make that a little bit harder. Maybe just a little bit. So I think that this Zoom is here to stay. Not that it's only option. And so I think a lot of people have that hesitancy of, I much prefer the in-person, and I 100% get it. There is, you know, the advantage of being able to be there. However, some of it's we're stuck on Zoom. And so there are clues. Our behavioral styles leave clues all over the place. And when we do the Roomful of Referrals program, we talk about the handshakes that people use and how you see them moving around the room and the gestures and things of that nature. And it's a slightly different world that we live in on Zoom. And so our goal and our intention with this conversation is, how do we pick up on those clues that they're leaving behind for us? How do we figure out what their behavioral style is, and then how to treat them? And so we're going to do a little fun stuff. So I'm going to flip it over to Jason and just.
Here's what we're going to do that's going to be fun. And we're going to take our turns going one style at a time. And when we go pick your style, we're going to have everybody else turn off their cameras. And we're going to keep just that style up in the viewing screen so that we can peer into their world and sort of see what's going on there and see if there's any clues as to maybe what behavioral style they are and maybe how I would adapt my speech. When we're looking into a go-getter's world, one thing I've got to understand about go-getters is they're a hustling, enterprising type of person. And so they might be on the move. And notice Charlie, and he's got to get things done. His time is very efficient and important to him. And so that might be a clue when you see somebody who's on the run and while taking this call. And it's usually a very professional background. If we look at the Edwards screen, you can see, and you know, the name, the brand. We're proud of it, and we're going to declare our accomplishment. And it looks, you know, it looks sharp, looks professional. And with Dorothy, you know, at first she had her background faded out. Now she kind of brought it back to us now. And so sometimes, you know, again, the go-getter wants to always look professional and sharp. So if her background wasn't tidy, she probably would have had it faded out or otherwise had a different, you know, professional background in her place. These are little clues that we find when we look into the go-getter's world. And the thing to understand about communicating with them is get to the point. Get to the bottom line. Their time is important. Make it efficient. And I'll size it right up with what the results are going to be and what the benefits are to them. What's in it for them? And you'll get further faster in your relationship with that go-getter.
All right. And a couple other things to keep in mind with the go-getters. If you notice, Dorothy has behind her what looks like an award that is common for the go-getters to like to share their accomplishments. Usually you do see them in a powerful position in the Zoom. So they're very unlikely to be like small or to the side. They're nice, they're big, in the middle, typically well lit. You can see them easily. And when you're doing a meeting with a go-getter, so this could be a prospect, this could be a referral source. The intention is, well, who's the go-getter's favorite person? The go-getter's favorite person is themselves. They do typically like to talk about themselves the most. They like to be the center of attention. And so if you keep in mind, hey, I'm meeting with a go-getter, how do I continuously bring it back to them? That will actually make them a little bit more comfortable. That will actually, help them want to have that connection with you. Jason mentioned earlier the golden rule that people talk about: treat other people the way that, you want to be. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. But the platinum rule is treat them the way that they want to be treated. So when I'm meeting with a go-getter, not a lot of fluff, not a lot of small talk, not a lot of chit chat. I want to get into the business. If I can do the meeting in 10 minutes, it's funny. It was me and a go-getter that had a call Monday afternoon, and it was scheduled for 30 minutes. 4 minutes, we were done. Like, thanks, bye. And it was just like, there's no point in us filling just because it's set for 30 minutes. Not to say you couldn't have put more in there, but don't try, just because it's 30 minutes for the go-getter doesn't mean that it needs to be 30 minutes. If you can get it done.
Promoters, woo! It's gonna be fun. So the thing about promoters is they are gregarious, fun-loving type of people, and they're very excitable. They're multitaskers. They're on the move, and the thing about the promoters are, you can look into the background and see clues like barbs. Look how pretty and colorful that is, and bright. That can often be reflected in the way that they dress. And look at the brightness of Phyllis's shirt, and I love what you've done with your hair. I'm a fellow promoter, and it's absolutely awesome. So that's the thing about promoters. It's usually going to be colorful and bright. And often I'll change in and out my own background for different places if I have to do multiple Zoom calls in a row, because I want to feel like I went somewhere. Sitting in one place, being stuck, it just doesn't feel that good, does it? We want to be moving and making things happen. And I see Judy at every networking event out there. It's very rare you're going to see her sitting behind this desk unless she's trapped in the Zoom call. She's all over town. But the clues in the background, and when we're talking with the promoters, is definitely going to be the brightness, the colorfulness, even the big smile, the happiness in the speech. And that's the thing we need to remember. And when adapting to the promoters, is we want to pep it up a little bit and have a little fun with it. It doesn't have to be so serious. It's not all about business. And let's enjoy our time together, and let's have some fun. And we're often going to get together in bigger groups like this too. And it's more fun when there's more people involved, right, Tiffanie?
For the promoters, yes. Not the nurturers and examiners, but we're going to get to them in a minute. Yeah, because the promoters, hey, instead of one of us, us getting together, one or two of us, why don't we have a group of us and have some fun? And we'll just talk all over each other, whether it's in person or on Zoom. And you do want to kind of make sure that if you're meeting with a promoter, that you bring that energy up. If, standing at the desk kind of sucks your energy, maybe this is the call that you stand up for. Now, promoters, on the other hand, it's hard for them to be at the standing desk because it's really hard for them to stand still, isn't it, Jason? How hard are you working right now not to move back and forth?
Tiffany's had to coach me on trying to stand still, grounding myself in different ways.
That is so funny. And you talk about talking over. I apologize, but I have to learn to plant my feet front and back, because if I'm standing, I'm side to side. I have led meetings and done this. So yeah.
Yes. And the promoters don't mind as much, but the examiners, that's really annoying. And so it is kind of about, how do we adapt to the other styles? And here's the thing, as we're going through this, we are being here's 4 different behavioral styles: go-getters, promoters, nurturers, examiners. Do understand that we have all 4 styles in us. So I'm a very high go-getter, but I'm also got a little bit promoter. So Grogu likes to hang out with me. I change out my little Funko Pops. I got a new one coming for Christmas. I'm excited because I want a little bit of fun going on in addition to the business aspect. So you are much more likely to see some fun going on, whether it's in the background. And if you can bring the fun, they enjoy that. Jason?
2 more things. So Tiffanie wasn't in the window when we discussed the go-getters, but remember I said declaring accomplishments. You see her books hanging on the wall behind her. And that's like a go-getter thing. But the promoter thing, and I'm just realizing I don't have my virtual background on right now. This is actually my fireplace mantle. Look for bright and shiny objects, and very sparkly, bright and shiny. That's common in the promoters' windows.
So if I'm networking with a promoter, keep it quick, keep it going. Promoters and go-getters are both fast paced. So with the go-getter, I want to be business focused, get it done quick. The promoters, I don't have to get it done as quickly as long as we can have some fun along the way. But promoters do have a tendency squirrel.
What?
Squirrel. I'm distracted. Oops, what happened? So we try and keep that focus as much as possible. And I know sometimes that's hard depending on where you're at. So promoters just kind of watch out for that.
The thing to understand about nurturers, guys, they are actually caring and compassionate people. They're some of the best relationship builders out there because they actually take the time to listen. They're genuine people, and nurturers are the glue sometimes that's holding our organization together, and because they actually make sure everybody's position was heard. So when we look into a nurturer's windows, it's usually going to be a softer environment. It's not going to be so bright or so loud. And it's usually going to be, a calmer tonality to the language, to the conversation that you're having. And it's going to be a softer pace. And we're going to actually, if you see them leaning in, like intently trying to listen to what you're saying and paying close attention to you, that's a clue you might be on the call with the nurturer. And they're warm, they're helpful, and they genuinely enjoy being able to help other people. So if they're asking you in this conversation, have ways that they can be helpful or ways they could help, you're actually helping their soul inside. And they are the type of people who have a hard time saying no. And so if you really need help, you can ask a nurturer. They're probably not going to say no. They're probably going to dive right in and help you. So very, very important people in our lives when it comes to relationship building, because they are the ones that are going to learn about us the most and really know how to best refer us going out. And so but to adapt to the nurture, sometimes some of us, the go-getters and promoters, we need to slow it down and take a little more time. Don't be rushing the conversation, and because rushing doesn't feel good, and rushing into decisions doesn't feel good. If you're trying to do business with a nurturer, and don't plan on closing the deal today. You're going to have to go through the options and take your time and hold their hand and give them the information first so that they can make a comfortable decision. And that's what we're getting out of the nurturers on these calls. But Tiffanie, what do you have to add?
Yeah, so I mean, even if we just look at the demeanor of the nurturers, very attentive, but not distracted. They're very engaged. It's a much more neutral palette that's going on. And so if I'm meeting with a nurturer, my goal and my intention is, how can I focus 100% on the person in front of me on Zoom? So do I need to close the door? Do I need to, lock the dogs in the room, lock the kids in the room? Don't actually do that. That's probably will get you in trouble. I don't have kids. There you go. What do I need to do to eliminate the distractions? Because just as if we're meeting one-on-one and we're in a busy location and I'm constantly distracted and not paying attention, it can really impact the relationship with the nurturer. And so if I'm thinking about it, as I look at the go-getter, it's about the results. If I look at the promoter, it's much more about, am I enjoying myself? Is this fun? The nurturer, it's about the relationship that we're building with each other. And so I really want to be focused. Nurturers, how do you feel when the person's constantly picking up their phone, or you can tell they're checking email? How does that make you feel? And they don't like being put on the spot like I'm doing. So they're like, I'm not going to unmute myself, but I'll give you a thumbs down. We don't like it. And so really try and be focused, take a little bit more time. It doesn't have to be super high energy. It's a much more relaxed and let me get to know who you are as a person conversation.
So we got Chad and Xavier. I think that's our examiners in the room today, and that's common. And our examiners are often going to be the smallest group of people in the audience, because going to networking events, where I actually got to go out there and talk to other people about my business all day long, doesn't necessarily come naturally and feel good. They do it because they know it's an essential part of business, and but it's not necessarily what they prefer to be doing. And an examiner typically likes to work more solitary. And I bet this place that Chad's in is probably his safe spot, his cockpit. It's where most of the business probably gets done. It's a place where he can hide away from everybody else and have time to focus in on the details. That's, examiners are all about details. You might often find a library of books behind them when you look into their window, because they're looking for more information all the time. They're seeking data. That data, that process, that system makes them feel good. anything in the background that would clue you into processes and systems like, spreadsheets and charts and things like that hanging behind them. And lots of data is a big clue that you're talking to the examiner. Usually going to be, a quiet, calm place. They would never really probably tune in from the middle of a Panera bread, restaurant. They're going to be, working solitary alone. When we need to adapt to the examiner, we need to make sure that we are going to go ahead and provide them with all the information. We got to spell it out in detail. If we're sending them a proposal for something, we sure better spell check it before we send it over, because if we didn't dot the I's and cross the T's, and we're getting a C- and it's getting sent back to us, and we're not, they want that information to be on and accurate, right, Tiffanie?
So Jason, did you see, have y'all noticed the stoicism? Probably not a word. The examiners will call me on the fact it's not a word, but I mean, they're listening very intently, but there's not a lot of expression there. But when you said the spell check thing, you did, there was a little smirk on Xavier's face. And just a second ago, I got Chad to have that little smile popping on there. So I just, want to point out, sometimes it's like we think about the examiners as being, look at Chad. He's like sitting back examining. It's not that he's closed off. He's just analyzing what's going on. And so promoters, especially if you're like, they don't look like they're having any fun. They measure fun in a slightly different way. My husband and I are opposite styles. His idea of fun is like, let's go out and hang out and be around people all day. And I'm like, can I cuddle up with my dog and read a book? Different, kind of fun there. So I just wanted to kind of point that out, Jason.
Yes. You said that all very, very fast for an examiner. Slow it
wasn't
down.
For the examiners as much as it was for the other styles.
Well, but again, we're adapting. So that's what we need everybody else in the room to understand is slow it down for a minute and bring all the information. If you've got a good solid proposal and you spell checked it, send it to them in advance. Give them a chance to review that proposal first and then have your meeting with them. And then you actually have a chance of closing a deal. I'll probably have a list of 10 good questions for you, but if you've got the right answers, then they'll move forward. And they're value shoppers, but they will buy quality because they know it might last longer. So as we move out of the examiners, did you have any other further notes? Or?
Yeah. So to me, when I'm doing a Zoom meeting with an examiner, I want to make sure that the examiners, and I know you don't like being put on the spot, but do you judge people by what they have behind them? If it's a mess, if it's piles of things, what's going through your head?
Definitely. Yes. Like what's going on over there?
It was commotion. What if there's a bunch of commotion behind them?
Just turn their video off if there's too much commotion.
and so we'd rather not have the video than be able to connect with you because of the commotion. But how does that work on our relationship? So if you're meeting with an examiner, you may want to think I think it was 2017 or 18, I started doing Zoom and I set this up in a corner of my office. Now my office used to be a mess. Now my office is super cool. I've actually got 5 different spots to shoot videos in my 10 by 12 office, but I set it up in a corner so that there's nothing behind me other than the wall. I don't have to worry about if it's a mess or not. I was doing a networking event the other day and there was this lady with piles and piles and piles and piles of stuff. I'm like, she looks a hot mess. That would, as a go-getter, that's bothering me a little bit. As an examiner, whew.
Tiffanie, one more note is one last clue I just thought of. If you see now during your conversation with them, they're checking items off the list. That's one clue that you might be talking to an examiner. They often have a list, and it makes they're very task oriented, and to check things off the list makes them feel efficient and effective and perfection what they do. They're very great at following.
All right. So that is our little overview of the 4 different styles. Awesome. So as we're putting in our ahas, Barb shared, pay attention to others more to determine their style. Yes, definitely. Phyllis, attention into the little details. And I know it's hard as the promoters, paying attention to those little details, but sometimes it's if I can stay focused for 30 seconds, that will make the 30 minutes a much more enjoyable time. Judy, just learning how to deal with the other behavioral styles is key in my aha moment. So I want to say thank you everybody so very much for being here with us for this kind of mini room full of referrals program. Hopefully we'll see you at something coming up again sometime soon. Loved having you here with us. I'll be hanging around if you have any questions beyond this. Otherwise, thanks so much and happy networking, y'all.
And real quick, anybody that hasn't taken it live in person, I think I've done it 3 or 4 times over the years. I can't remember. Came back for this because it's awesome. It's as good as any program you'll do it. I highly recommend the in-person. You'll learn a whole lot.
Thank you, Chad.